Hi, my name is Amir, and I'd like to share with you um, an experience that was life transformative. And it's about SQH, Sacred Quantum Healing. I never imagined that it would change my life in the way that it did, because to be honest with you, I started out with the intention of obtaining healing, really. Uh, some people would call it energetic healing, or the concept of prayer, Reiki, laying, healing touch. But this was something much more wonderful, much more impactful, more powerfully elevating. So let me start back from the beginning. So I've been instructed that I have to tell you that I'm a physician. Now that we have that out of the way. This process was multi-stepped, and we initially started about a week or 2 weeks before with really an exploration. And Maria and Nestor really took an extended time over lunch and then subsequently coffee and dessert. It was just a really relaxed time to get to know each other. Most importantly, I think they got to have a look into my soul. What I was experiencing in life, not only what I was experiencing in health, but how mentally I was dealing with this, and really getting to know who I am, because who I am informs who we are, informs our response to anything that happens. Sort of the rose-colored lenses that we enter into life with. And so we had lengthy discussions, and they were heart-to-heart discussions, and very frank and open, actually. But it didn't feel like an inspection with a magnifying glass, or some kind of judgment and stratification. It felt much more like friends sitting down together and sharing experiences. So very comfortable. The next step was then an Akashic record evaluation by Maria. And I have to tell you, it was the strangest thing, because after she did the Akashic record and compiled it and then shared it with me, I thought it would be sort of, the usual kinds of, almost like a reading in a sense. But this totally shocked me, because, in a good way, because what happened was the qualities, the characteristics, the penchants, sort of the ways in which I deal with things, and the ways in which I see relationships and experience them. These were deeply personal, and they were things that we hadn't discussed. But somehow they showed up in my Akashic reading. And I kept asking, how did you know this? How did you know this about me? These are things that maybe my family knows, but my closest friends wouldn't necessarily have such clear insight into my soul, really, when you come down to it. And so I think the accuracy and the precision of what was shared gave me much more confidence in sort of accepting and internalizing and processing the solutions and the ideas that were included in this Akashic record. I can't really describe it anymore for you. This is something like the Buddha says, don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. So the next step then was a in-person meeting again for the healing ceremony. And this was really just a relaxed and wonderful experience. So when I came into Maria's Healing Center, Maria and Nestor started out with showing me the many healing modalities and the equipment, the really high-level equipment that they have accumulated or gathered together for the Healing Center. Rife technology, scalar technology, Tesla energy, molecular hydrogen, toroidal light patterns and frequencies that create a container and a high vibrational envelope for the ceremony itself. And other things that, to be honest with you, I don't even understand. But very, very impressive. And so after we had the tour, we did a chakra opening. And I've had several before. And interestingly, the two areas of blockage that Maria identified with her pendulum were actually consistent areas that have been identified to me going back 10 years. They're sort of, I guess you could say, weak spots. And after we opened those two areas, I'm not going to tell you what those areas were. You'll have your own areas, trust me. But after we opened up those areas, on a serious note, after we opened up those areas, I could feel the flow of energy within my energy body open up, and sort of, it's like turning up the gain, if you will, on a device. And so I could feel that right away then. And from there, we were ready to start the ceremony. The ceremony was mostly silent and a meditative connection. And I'm a long-time meditator, so this was basically I dropped into it immediately. And how do I describe this to you? When I meditate on my own, there's a certain level of energy, a certain level of entrainment, certain level of peace that comes with that. But this was a whole different experience because I had the benefit of 3 people holding space and really focusing on sharing energy with me, is the best way I can describe it. And I could feel it very powerfully. In fact, it was just such a wonderful feeling of being helped, being healed, a feeling of a powerful love. I can only describe the experience as some very deep meditative experiences I've had over the years. And one of them in particular, where I felt my guide hugging me. Of course, there was no visible being there, but I certainly could feel it. And I had some glimpses as well from my inner eye. And that sense of love that I felt was so much more powerful than anything I had experienced in regular life. And that's what I felt during the healing ceremony. I felt the projection from the healers present, and of course, the guides and healers from the spiritual dimension coming in to help the process and support it. It was fabulous and transformative. And I felt so energized by this process that when it was done, I'll be honest with you, I felt so magnificent, and I felt that I was floating in my body, to the point that when we were done, I wasn't sure I could really stand up and walk. I know that sounds strange, but I literally had to ground and fully come back into my body over a 20-minute period. And Maria was so kind to provide high vibrational food, and as I ate, I could feel myself settling back in. It was a most wonderful feeling. After I left, I have to tell you that something happened that my guides have told me to do repeatedly for at least a couple of years, but it happened spontaneously. And what my guides had instructed me to do during meditation was to project love to every being that I see, whether they're in their monster truck cutting me off or honking their horn behind me because I'm driving too slow. Whatever the case may be, but just projecting love to all beings. And I usually have to think about it. I usually have to consciously so project that metta for those of you that are familiar with the Buddhist tradition. But just project that love, basically, unconditional love. And love that's not related to getting anything and maybe never seeing this person ever again in life, but still feeling that. What was different this time was that as I drove home, and for the subsequent days, this was happening spontaneously. People would be driving by and I just felt this love for them. That's the best that I can describe it. And so it was a continuous experience of being personally embraced in love by the divine and projecting that love to everyone. Just a fabulous, fabulous transformation and transition, an upgrade, an elevation. So you say, okay, what does that have to do with healing of the physical body? So I didn't mention that for 5 years now, I've been learning from and working on healing what's called a stage 4 metastatic lung cancer. No, I never smoked. But at any rate, 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer that had spread basically all over my body. I often say that there was a party going on in my body and I didn't get an Evite. At any rate, this is what I initially came in for help with. And all the things I mentioned to you were all vibrational and spiritual. But as it turned out, my physical body felt so energized. I just had this energy to do things. And for anyone that's ever had cancer or helped someone that has widely progressed cancer, there's this sort of sleepiness that happens and a lack of energy and taking naps when you never took naps before. The sofa looks really nice for a nap multiple times of the day. I still haven't felt any of that. I felt like this boundless energy to do things, to get things done. And some of the things are sacred projects that I've been tasked with. That's a whole nother story. And I just felt all of this energy to work on these projects and to project them forward. And 2 weeks later, this is still ongoing, and I'm really loving it. Because for me, before I leave the planet, I really want to get these sacred projects done because they were given to me to do. And I know I'll have help from the other side to do them. But this was help, actually, now that I think of it, to empower me to move forward with these projects. And interestingly, I received guidance during meditation and just walking around about specific projects that I can now start to engage in. So it's just been a wonderful, wonderful benefit to me and hopefully to other people that I can share this with. So I can't recommend it to you highly enough. If you have the opportunity to do it, if the door is open for you to experience this sacred healing, I wouldn't walk, I would run to it. Okay, namaste.